Alright, let's see if this microphone's working. Yes, it is. Okay. Well, usually when I start these videos, I've noticed that I always lose my spot after like 8 minutes or so. Like, the people who make these talk videos, like, I kind of don't really. It's kind of hard. Actually, it's kind of hard. It looks easy. You're like, well, all this guy's doing is talking. How hard could it be to make a talk video? But believe it or not, it's actually kind of hard. And just based off of what I was just talking about, I already want to delete what I'm saying. But I want to continue because tonight I kind of am in the mood to talk about songwriters. And I gotta be honest with you. In my life, people might wonder. They say, "Hey, how come you don't have a band? How come you don't friggin' tour or something?" Well, they don't ask me why I don't tour. They mostly ask me why I don't have a band, which to me is kind of like asking me why I don't tour. Well, I'm going to try to explain why. Because, number one, I'm a bit of I'm a bit of a hard ass, I guess, when it comes to music. I'm very specific. I think that's kind of where, musicians, people who create things in general, sometimes we have very troublesome minds. And my mind is kind of like that. It's very troublesome. I'm an obsessive. For instance, not so much anymore, but kind of. But, years ago, when I would get involved with an artist, I would really be obsessed. Now, of course, the main artist that I became most obsessed with of all was Dylan. And to this day, I'm still quite obsessed with him, if only because, for any particular situation, I can pull out a Dylan song and be like, oh, wow, look, he was writing about that in 1962, man. He was writing about that in 1963, and I just think that he was so significant. So what happens is, I get with these people, and for me, music is so profound, so deep, so vast. There's so much to explore that sometimes I get caught up more studying other people's songs, and I don't devote really as much time as I probably should to my own stuff. For example, the whole studio thing is just the most enormous pain in the ass to me. It costs like $1,200 to go and record songs, and I don't know. I'm in a way I can't even be bothered with it. I want to be because I want my albums to sound good and everything, but I don't have any albums. All I have is these crazy songs, all my songs that I've written. Because this thing about me is I'm always writing songs. To me, there is no such thing as writer's block. There is no such thing as a creative block. I don't understand how that could be. I could always find something to write about. Now, what I do think a creative block is, I'll tell you what I think it is. When I sometimes will have an idea, I'll say, oh man, you have to write about something really particular. I want to try to write a song about, such and such. I want to try to write a song about, like, the Second World War. I need to write a song about this. Today, that's what I want to do. I want to write a song about the Second World War, man. It's going to be the most epic friggin' song anyone ever wrote about the Second World War. And then I'm obsessed with this idea of I need to write a song just about this. I'm in a box now, right? I'm only desperately trying to somehow write a song about the Second World War. It's a very specific topic, all this, And, that's when I find a creative block, because I'm trying to write about something specific. But a love song, all these things, I don't, to me, I could write those songs forevermore. But the other thing is, I think one of the reasons why a lot of people never experience the joy of writing a song or something like that is because music has changed dramatically over the years. I love, personally, the acoustic guitar. I love seeing drafts of songs. I call them drafts. Like, what's so miraculous about Dylan's first few albums was they were almost really just, like, drafts. Like, rough drafts. They aren't even really proper albums, in a way. They are. Look, now they're historical documents. You know what I'm saying? What happens is a thing changes as the years go on. I think that they are historical documents now, so we look at them differently. But it was kind of extraordinary at the time. He was just sitting there with the acoustic guitar. It was like so bizarre, because now every song is written, acoustically, more or less. Well, these new songs are. I tried to mention this in one of my other videos. You see, this is where I get lost because writing is so much different. I do a lot of writing about these things, and it's so much different than talking because writing is so friggin' organized. But talking is, especially when you're just talking to yourself and this camera and shit. The eye is on you, and you try to you want to keep the conversation on a particular train line, and you can get lost. But what I was saying was. They were just like drafts in a way because he basically just had what he was doing live at the time, and he just recorded it for Columbia or whoever he did, with a stroke of luck that was. When it comes to that, you look back at those albums and you go, these are just drafts now. Like all those songs that he did, which sound so much better and so much more full with a band, but there's also something really special about the broke down, naked acoustic song, and that's how almost all of my songs are presented to whatever listeners I have here on this channel. That's how mostly all of my songs are presented, and it's even worse with mine because I don't even have a proper microphone here. This is really just like a microphone with like a radio broadcaster would use or something. I don't even know what this is. I don't even want to. My desk is such a mess. I don't even want to show it to you. But it's not a proper mic, so nowadays. You go into the guitar shop, you'll see, hey, they got these like special amplifiers for the acoustic guitar, for the acoustic electric guitar, and then it sounds excellent. I can only imagine my work would sound a lot better if I had done it like that, and if I do it like that in the future. But that's like the singer-songwriter's hope. You always hope you're going to get to that next level with songs. You always hope you're going to get more tools. Once I discussed tools with somebody. These are just tools that we have at our disposal. So for me personally, the tool that I kept working was really just playing the guitar and knowing as many songs as possible. That was what I became obsessed with because what happened with me is I listened to so many songs. These days, not as many as I used to listen to, but really in the past, I listened to like every fucking song you could imagine I was listening to. It was like all I did, was just listen to song after song after song. I heard everything. I think I heard every friggin' song that was released from the year 1950 till 1975 in the span of like 3 years. I heard every song that was released. I was just a song addict. That was like what I did. It was like what I breathed and lived. So, and many times after I would listen to these songs, I would play them, in my own way. I always felt that I could totally, it's like, Brown Sugar, Satisfaction, Dylan songs, this Tom Petty song, this Tom Waits song, this Arlo Guthrie song, this Merle Haggard song, Willie Nelson, so on and so forth. I can sing them all. I never felt like, that guy's not for my voice. I just changed the song to how I wanted to sing it. It's like, I like this song. I would sing this song at a bonfire. I'll sing it here to my lonesome. And that was what it was. It was just like, I was just studying the way the various songwriters wrote. It was trying to absorb what they had done into me, into my bones, into my skin, into my very being. And along the way, I ended up learning so much about the history of my country. I learned so much that I didn't intend to ever learn because what it started out was me just trying to learn how to play a friggin' song. And I ended up learning about all these crazy things. It was like a real epic journey and a voyage, So that's kind of, I went off topic, of course. I always do. I think that's the beauty of these things, One of my other favorite things was, I always did like literature, and I will admit that I did not always like it as much, and I still do not. I'm trying now to study literature more, because I studied it years ago when I was a teenager, and then I drifted off into the music world, which was just so much, music is so much more alive, you have to be honest at the end of the day. It's so much more alive. Words on a page, it's like poems. They just, I often nowadays I read songs that Dylan wrote just on the page. I'm like, oh, I don't really want to listen to that one again. I've heard it 1,000 times. Let me just read it, because then I want to send it to a friend or something. So I'll reread it quick, and then I'll say, oh, you gotta listen. You gotta check this one out. This is a great song. It's like, you know, some political event has happened, and Dylan was talking about it in like 1962, as I mentioned earlier in the video. Read this one, and I'll read through it. And it's like, you know, they're great on the page. They're all fantastic on the page, but it doesn't come to life. And I think it's the same thing with literature. You know, it can be very hard for people, for the average person, to read through a work of literature, I think, and say, hey, you know, this was fantastic. I felt like I really lived it. You know, that's a skill in its own right, being able to do that. Not everybody, you know, many people think, oh, everybody has that experience. They read Harry Potter or something, and everyone they were there. They were in the school. You know, they experienced it. Like, you know, they were there, etc. You know, not everybody has that experience. For some people, that's very hard. You know, I feel fortunate that I have, in fact, had that experience, where I have read a book and been transported within the pages of that book. I feel grateful and fortunate, you know, that I've listened to songs and I'm literally just transported immediately to the friggin' place where the song is. You know, like, I feel like I almost was with, you know, the Grateful Dead on their tours in the 70s. And I feel like I almost was with the Stones, you know, when they played at Hyde Park, you know, back then in the late 60s. I was there with Dylan when he came out in Greenwich Village. I feel like I was there, like my spirit somehow was transported there, you know, via the music. It's so hard to explain, but I'll get back to this later. I hope someone enjoyed this video. Grazie.